All right, let's hit on the topic we talked about briefly yesterday there. Deb asked a question during the show there if we'd heard much about Gabe Davis. So it's said to be building momentum that Gabe Davis may very well become a New York Giant. I don't say will, but may very well become one. So he had his visit on Wednesday with the New York Giants. Jordan Raanan came out afterwards and said, keep an eye on wide receiver Gabe Davis today. Momentum building for a reunion with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen in New York. Now, he put that up yesterday on Twitter. So as we're recording this is Thursday. He put that up Wednesday after the meeting there. We still haven't heard anything as far as anything pending there. He did obviously also visit the San Francisco 49ers before visiting the New York Giants. So there's always the possibility he doesn't sign with the Giants. We're not the only team that's interested in him, guys. But this is a guy that, listen, you guys know if you watch the show on a regular basis that Brandon Scherff is the guy that I really want to get. I want to shore up the offensive line. Like I think that's a key thing for us to do. But out of all the guys available, this is probably the second, most popular name for me to want to see become a New York Giant of the people still available in free agency. The kid's still 26 years old. He's, coming from the, playing with Brian Daboll prior in Buffalo and had success there. Coming off a bad year in Jacksonville, so he's probably not going to be very expensive, which is a very key component. That's what I'm looking at there. A guy who also, by the way, in his 4 years in Buffalo, 27 touchdowns. So good touchdown producer as well, which is key for the Giants. So it feels like touchdowns just are few and far between for the Giants, except for versus the Colts last year. I don't know what the hell happened there. Jason, if Gabe Davis has a contract offset, he can go anywhere in the league almost. Why a dysfunctional offense team? Well, here's the thing is, again, he was productive with Buffalo. So that's something to keep in mind. He said that means he's going to be in a contract year for a team that pays him the minimum. Why go to where receivers go to die on your prove it deal? Again, I get that part of it because we're talking negatively about the Giants here, and we're so used to it as Giants fans. But you got to also keep in mind, though, with this, he's played again with Brian Daboll before. He succeeded in Brian Daboll's offense. If you're on a prove it year, like you're saying, Jay, as a wide receiver, and you're coming off your worst year by far, 239 yards, and you have a chance to go play for a guy who literally coached you up when you first got in this league, why would you not take that? There's a potential to get back to where you were, even if it's for 1 year. Get back where you were and build your value back up. And I think that's what be the intrigue for him. The intrigue for the Giants is quite obvious. Again, you go past the big three receivers we got, in Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, who you really got? Let's be honest. Like, we don't really got much, guys. It's a very thin group, very top heavy. I love the top three. But when you're looking past them and you can start going to Jalen Hyatt, Smith Marset, who hasn't been a receiver forever, really. Little Jordan Humphreys, who Denver was glad to get rid of. Like I said, Denver fans were excited. It's one of the things I look at is when a team loses a player that the Giants pick him up. I like to see what does the opposing side say. And that's something that tells me that we probably are not going to be big fans of a little Jordan Humphrey. They complain about his hands, complain about dropping in big moments there. These are people that, let's be honest, again, if you want them on the field and limited sets and stuff like that, great. That's fine. But Gabe Davis is a guy who can legitimately play on the field and provide something. And that's a big thing for me. Deb says, isn't he also known to be a good blocker? Yes, that's one thing as well. He is also very much known to be a good blocker as well. So, I've always been a big fan of receivers that are blockers because a lot of them don't want to do it. It's a part of the position. It really is. It's one of those things that also I feel like tells you a lot about who the person is as a wide receiver. Because the prima donnas are not the ones that are worried about, the blocking part of the game. The people who are the team first receivers are typically the ones that are good blockers. Look at a guy like Hines Ward back in the day. He was a guy who was a great blocker. And by all means, he was a great teammate. He was a guy that, was team first, and that's the kind of thing you typically get of a guy who's known for blocking as a wide receiver. And like I said, I think Gabe Davis is a great fit, guys. I really do. And I'm hoping it gets done. I'm still hoping we somehow get Brandon Scherf as well, because if we happen to get both those guys, that's a big boost to that offense. That's for sure. But like I said, that's definitely shoring up a spot that I think we're thin at. Now, again, is it a done deal? No. Is there a good chance he can go somewhere else? I want to say good, but it's a possibility. The Giants, at least from all accounts right now, seem to be the front runner. But it depends on where people are getting their information from. I mean, again, Jordan Raanan said that. He's an NFL, a Giants beat writer for ESPN. Now, because he works for ESPN, doesn't have to worry about taking off the Giants. He's a very honest beat writer. I definitely like looking at what he has to say, because he's pretty good at giving the honest truth of it, not sugarcoating it to not piss off Pat Hamlin or somebody within the Giants. But at the same point, he's a Giants beat writer. I don't know how much he has, knowledge of what's going on outside of the Giants organization as well. So, and that's not to disrespect the man. I actually got a lot of respect for Jordan, but when you work with one team for so long, you don't necessarily know what's going on with the 31 at that point there. So there might be a beat writer for ESPN that's sitting there telling the Niners fans, oh, well, the Niners, that's something to keep an eye out. Now he's visited the Giants as well. He'll make a decision soon, and I'm hearing good things. Like, we don't know. We don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys it's going to happen for sure. But it's a good fit. It's a decent possibility it may happen now as well. And like I said, it makes sense. We talked about this pretty much from the get-go when he got dropped by Jacksonville. It's a good fit. This is a position of need. This is a guy who's used to the offense and played with the head coach when he was an offensive coordinator in Buffalo and had a lot of success. So again, good fit, I think. Hoping it gets done. And because of the offset language in this contract, like Jay mentioned in the comments section, hopefully it's really not for any money. Kind of like a situation like Russell Wilson with the Steelers last year, ironically. But like I said, it makes too much sense not to happen. It really does.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.